Did you know that personal protective equipment, aka PPE, sits at the lowest level of the hierarchy of controls? But this makes sense when you consider that controls form a framework used to prioritize how risks should be managed, preferably at the source. We often overestimate the protection PPEs provide. So let's look at this scenario and how we can apply the controls according to their hierarchy. Manual handling of heavy boxes in a warehouse. The first step in the hierarchy of controls is elimination. So you remove the hazard so that the exposure is no longer possible. In this case, remove the need for manual lifting by automating the process or redesigning workflows so goods are delivered directly to the point of use. If the hazard is eliminated, the risk is eliminated. The second step in the hierarchy of controls is substitution. Replace the hazardous process, material, or activity with a safer alternative. So in this case, replace heavy goods with smaller, lighter packages or use materials with reduced weight. The risk is reduced without relying on human behavior. The third step, which is engineering controls. So isolate people from the hazard, designing physical changes to the workplace that reduce or prevent exposure. In our scenario, you introduce mechanical aids such as conveyors, forklifts, lift assist devices. You can also redesign storage heights to avoid bending, reaching, or twisting. The control here is built into the system and is not dependent on individual action. The fourth step in the hierarchy of controls is administrative controls. So change the way work is done through improved policies, procedures, and organizational methods that guide safe behavior. In our scenario, you implement safe lifting procedures and task-specific training. You can also rotate the staff to reduce prolonged exposure to strain. Also, you can schedule adequate rest breaks. These reduce exposure, but they rely on consistency, compliance, and human performance. Finally, PPEs. They protect the individual by minimizing exposure to the hazards. Again, in our example, you can provide gloves to improve the grip and safety footwear to reduce injury risk. But PPEs do not remove the hazard. They reduce the harm only after exposure has occurred and only if it is used correctly. So all 5 levels can exist within the same task, but their effectiveness is not equal. Eliminating the lift removes the risk entirely. Engineering controls reduces exposure significantly. Administrative controls depend on behavior, and PPEs only reduce the injury if everything else fails. The application of hierarchy of controls reflects how an organization allocates responsibility for safety. When your PPEs become your primary control, it is often compensating for poor decisions made upstream. Effective safety measures do not rely on workers to manage the risk. They are designed in a way that controls the risk before the work begins.